All right, Mr. Shack back at you, Algebra 1, with a slope real-world example. So let's take a look at an example of slope in the real world. Here's a picture. So this graph is dealing with hurricane evacuations. And on the x-axis, we've got time in hours. And on the y-axis, we have people remaining to be evacuated. Okay? So a bunch of questions here we're going to ask, but let's begin with one. What is the slope? Okay, let's start with slope. The slope of the graph is equal to. Now, there's a couple of ways you could do it. You could do rise over run, or you could use the slope formula. I personally like the slope formula a little bit more, so let's call this x1, y1. Let's call this x2, y2. And let's calculate the slope. So if we were to do y2 minus y1, and we divide that by x2 minus x1, we're going to have the answer 800 minus 1200 would be negative 400 divided by 6 minus 3 is 3. Okay, and then we can calculate what that would be in reduced form. So we could do 400 divided by 3. So 400 divided by 3 is going to equal about 133.33. So we'll call that 133 and 1/3. So this equals negative 133 and 1/3. Okay, so that's the slope. So let's go put that right here. Negative 133 and 1/3. So the question is, that's often asked, is what does it mean? What does it mean? And what I mean by asking that, what does it mean, means in the context of this hurricane evacuation, what does the number negative 133 and 1/3 represent? Well, here's what it represents. It represents everything that we know slope to be. The change in y over the change in x. Okay? So change in y is people remaining. So that means that this is 133 and 1/3 people remaining. So that's less than, because it's negative. So that means 133 and 1/3 less people remaining for every 1 hour. So change in y over change in x. So what that represents in this story is that each hour, another 133 and 1/3 people are evacuated. Of course, we're not really thinking about this as 1/3 of a person. It's just a mathematical model, and sometimes mathematical models come out to fractions, and that's okay because they're just estimations. So what does this mean? So this means that every hour, another 133 and 1/3 people evacuated. Okay? So again, how do we get that? It's simply the change in y over the change in x. Y was people left remaining, and x was hours. And our y and x in this example, y was negative 133 and x was simply 1. So every hour, 133 and 1/3 people evacuated. Okay?